If Wales succeed in reaching the World Cup, there will be few regrets about ugly wins against the sides sandwiched by Mauritania and Namibia in FIFA's rankings. And yet there will also be an imperative to improve substantially from a performance that briefly threatened to sap some of the early mood around Craig Bellamy's work in the post. For this was a slog, saved mainly by quick goals in each half by Dan James and Ben Davies, either side of a penalty from Askat Tegibergen's penalty for 1-1. Rabbi Matondo scored Wales's third in stoppage time. On paper, it's the start they needed to the campaign. But playing against a side with limited ambition, and one stationed at 110 in that FIFA list, the Welsh repeatedly struggled, or failed altogether, in breaking down Kazakhstan. There is a reasonable amount of quality in this Wales team, and certainly no shortage of pace in Brennan Johnson and Dan James, but there was a curious lack of inventiveness when presented with the challenge of a parked bus. With almost all the possession, it will perhaps trouble Bellamy that they weren't wiser in using it. Away in Macedonia on Tuesday, a little more nous will be needed, and we can multiply that for their June engagement with Group J's standout side, Belgium. But a win is a win, and in doing so, Bellamy remains unbeaten through 7 games. That will be enough for now, even if this should have been more straightforward. The theoretical disparity was written out on the team sheets. 2 of the Kazakh 11 play their club football in Russia, and the rest were drawn from their domestic top flight. Even in the absence of any world-class names, Bellamy had 4 men from the Premier League, 1 from Nantes, and a trio from the Leeds United side at the top of the championship. For a time, the game seemed to keep with expectations. James's opener came from a corner routine that was botched but not cleared, allowing Ben Davies and Liam Cullen to double up and sack Askat Tegibergen as he attempted to play his way out of the area. The loose ball was nudged to James, and he finished with the help of a significant deflection off Alexander Marochkin. It wasn't terribly pretty, and nor was the game. Kazakhstan, riding a run of 7 defeats in 8, were playing with 5 at the back and 11 behind the ball, so it became a test of creativity. Wales had some but not nearly enough. There were marginal chances for Joe Rodon and Johnson, a reasonable penalty appeal from James that was ignored, and, finally, an under-hit pass from David Brooks when Sorba Thomas was positioned for a one-on-one. Beyond that, there was a vast amount of possession and no clear roads to goal, which teed up the sucker punch. It came on the half hour, from the very first Kazakh attack, when Connor Roberts turned his back on a cross by Islam Chesnokov, and the delivery struck his left arm. Bellamy was laughed, but by the latest definitions of these laws, a penalty was fair. Tegibergen drilled his kick up the middle and Karl Darlow got a foot to it, but the ball trickled over the line. By half-time, Wales had been good for 72% of the ball and only half of the goals. They were nurturing grumbles about the penalty not given to James, and a possible red card that resulted in a yellow for Maxim Samorodov, but ultimately their play had been flat. Uninventive. Edgy, even. Bellamy resisted any urges to make changes at the break, and the goal came quickly. 2 minutes after the restart, Sorba Thomas swerved an in-swinging corner to the far post, and the Kazakhstan goalkeeper, Alexander Zarautsky, risked it all on a leap and swing at the dipping ball. He missed it completely, leaving Davies in the pocket of space behind him to head at an open goal. Cullen bent an attempt wide as Wales chased a third, before a second penalty was risked when Islam Chesnokov beat Neco Williams along the byline and drew a lunging challenge from behind. Williams took the ball, but it was a dangerous way to live. At that point, Bellamy hooked half of his Premier League starters, David Brooks and Johnson, and sent on Jordan James and Mark Harris. Within 2 minutes, James had forced a good save and Williams coaxed an even better one from a subsequent free kick. One final substitution saw Rabbi Matondo sent on for Dan James, and his finish off a Thomas cutback gave Wales comfort for the only time in the evening.